Hey, what's up, everybody? So, I wanted to do a follow up video about the series that I've been doing. So, I have a series on my page about Keith Middlebrook, the guy arrested for selling the coronavirus or the COVID-19 cure. And when I first heard that he was arrested, I was a little skeptical. And initially, I thought, I was like, man, they're arresting this guy for no reason. And, he's just out there trying to make some money, trying to get his hustle on, and who knows, maybe he actually did have the cure for this thing, right? So, that was my position at the time. Maybe I didn't come out and say that exactly, but I think people listening to the video probably got the sense that that was my position because, who knows? Maybe, the guy made a cure in his basement or something, right? So I actually was able to find the indictment on scrib.com, and I'm not sure if this is an official indictment. I'm not sure if it's the actual thing. You know, I can't certify that this indictment is true and correct. But given that, I read through the entire thing, and I'm going to basically try to keep from putting you to sleep. So I'm just going to try to give you the meat of it. It is a pretty interesting indictment. If you want to check it out, you can probably go to scrib.com and search for the name Keith Middlebrook. I actually tried to download it, but they trying to hit a brother up for some money, and I'm not trying to pay for something that I really don't need. I mean, this is just really entertainment and probably a little education, so, and pretty much I can get all that just by reading it. I don't need to download it. But I mean, it's pretty interesting. The indictment, when you first read it, it didn't come off as convincing, to be honest with you, because they start off the indictment by really just a bunch of allegations. Most of the stuff in the indictment, when you start off, it just reads as if, they heard that he was doing these videos on YouTube, Twitter, and he's talking about he's gotten the cure, so on and so forth. So it didn't really become convincing up until the point where they had evidence that he said that Magic Johnson was involved in this, and then he made other allegations saying that he had patents pending for the COVID-19 cure, so on and so forth. So when they started citing evidence that he made those claims, that's when it became a little bit more interesting to me. That's when it became real. But I'd say the bulk of the indictment is 25 pages, and the bulk of it doesn't really have any evidence. I mean, there's very little evidence in the indictment in general, but the evidence that is there is compelling, right? So before I go too deep, let me just go ahead and read the actual law which he's accused of breaking. 1 second here. So he's actually accused of violating 18 USC 1343, which is fraud by wire, radio, or television. Now, honestly, you have to be careful how you get out on the internet and you start trying to sell things and you start trying to hype things up. And honestly, I don't see how he would have been doing this maliciously. To me, it just seems like he was trying to make some money and maybe he got in too deep. I don't know. I don't know the guy, so I can't tell you what his mind, what he's thinking, and what's going on in his mind at the time he's making these claims, right? But his arrest is evidence to us that you really need to be careful. Everybody, well, a lot of people out there are trying to make money over the internet and they're making claims. You really have to be careful of the claims that you're making, because if you say something that's not true, you can be arrested for fraud. And that's basically what they arrested him for. So basically, fraud is a misrepresentation of a material fact. That's the actual Black's Law Dictionary. And it essentially means you're lying. You're lying about something with the intention of getting a profit, right? So if I say I have this one investment, whereas it's already proven to have made 90% return on investment over the past 10 years, and you basically jump on the boat thinking that this thing is going to give you a 90% return, and it turns out I don't have any evidence in that, then I'm going to jail for fraud, right? So let me just go ahead and read the definition. Basically, 1343, fraud by wire, radio, television, and they also mean the internet. Whoever having devised, intending to devise any scheme or artifice to defraud or obtain money or property by means of false statement or fraudulent pretense, representations or promises, transmit or cause to be transmitted by means of wire, radio, television, communicating interstate or foreign commerce. And of course, believe me, computer is going to fit in that description, right? Any writings, signs, signals, pictures, or sounds for the purpose of executing such a scheme or artifice shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than, oh my God, 20 years. I hate to see this guy get 20 years. I really would hate to see this guy get 20 years. I don't know the guy. They say he's in the Avengers movies or Iron Man or something like that. I don't really remember him. But to me, he doesn't seem like a hardcore con artist. To me, he just seems like a guy that was trying to make some money on the internet, and he probably just embellished a few things. He lied, he didn't embellish. He lied, and basically, because they have evidence that he lied in the actual indictment. And I hate to see him get 20 years for it. I mean, like I said, I don't know him, but he doesn't come off he comes off as a salesman type. That's how he comes off. He doesn't really come off as a con artist, right? Like he does this for a living. But hey, what can I say? I wish the guy all the best. But anyway, let me finish reading this. If the violation occurs in relation to or involving any benefit authorized, transported, transmitted, transferred, dispersed, or paid connection with a presidentially declared major disaster or emergency, as those terms are defined in Section 102 of Robert T. Stanford Disaster Relief Emergency Assistance Act. Man, they got him. Or affects a financial institution, such person shall be fined not more than 1 million or imprisoned not more than 30. Damn, so this thing done went from 20 to 30 years or both. Whoa. So obviously they got him, right? Well, I'm not sure if they actually have him, but the the violation of the statute includes a major disaster, right? So everyone knows the coronavirus is basically a major disaster, right? And it's a worldwide disaster. So that's probably why they got him. And I think I said in the first video, they're probably snagging him because they don't want people out there trying to sell snake oil and preying on desperate people. But I just really had to do this follow-up video. And let's just go back to the actual indictment. So in the actual indictment, they actually got him on several different levels. Let me see if I can actually find some of this stuff for you. Like I said, I read the entire thing, but I don't want to bore you with the details because it's a interesting story, but it just kind of reads a little bit slow as to how it gets to the actual point. But basically, they they actually reached out to Magic Johnson's affiliates or the company or the people that runs his business, and one of them is named Francis, right? So Middlebrook also falsely stated that as March 19th, Irvin Magic Johnson, the former NBA basketball player, was a director and officer of his company, QC20, right? QC20, I forget what that stands for, but it's really an abbreviation for Middlebrook's company, right? And basically, in addition, Middlebrook made false statements to CW1. They also got a cooperating witness who was called CW1. And basically, the way this goes is actually CW1 is the guy that actually turned them in. Now, it turns out that CW1 himself was already up on charges, and he had already pled guilty to the same crime. So when Middlebrook reached out to him, he was like, or probably thinking like, well, I can turn this guy in and get some of my time knocked off. And I think that's basically what happens, because they tell you early on. I'm not going to scroll up now. They tell you early on in this indictment that CW1 is a cooperating witness, right? So anyway, basically he's claiming that Magic Johnson was involved. So the FBI investigator reached out to Christina Francis, who basically is the president of the Magic Johnson Enterprise, and she handles his affairs. And she basically said, "Look, Magic Johnson is not involved in any business or enterprise involving COVID-19. Magic Johnson also doesn't know Keith Middlebrook, right?" So they called him in that lie. They called him in several other lies, and yeah, they caught the guy in several other lies. Yeah, so they claim that he actually was going to Mar-a-Lago to get an executive emergency order to override the FDA's directive as it regards to COVID-19. And then that also turned out to be a lie. They just caught this guy in so many lies that is just ridiculous. And at the end of the day, if you're on the internet and you're trying to sell something, you better make sure that you don't tell any lies, or you don't commit fraud. And if you do, you're pretty much going to get caught up, right? So, I mean, there's really not much here. Like I said, they caught him in several lies. One of the biggest lies was the lie with Magic Johnson, and there were several other lies, but I'm not going to actually see if I can find all of these. I did read the entire thing, but I actually didn't mark it. So Middlebrook's false statements in furtherance of his fraudulent investment, in addition to stating on his videos a description accompanying the videos, he has developed an injectable cure for and prevention pills for COVID-19. Middlebrook made several false statements in the one sheet for company QP20 and QC20. See Exhibit A. One second here. Yeah, so the other thing they did is that they actually went to the patent database, and they did several searches for patents to see if Keith Middlebrook's name was associated with any of the patents, right? And they weren't able to find things. So that was another lie that they caught him in. And I think they have evidence on his videos and things of that nature where he claims that he has a patent for this. So that's one lie. And they also searched the patent for the name of his company, Quantum Prevention CV, or QPCV, and so on and so forth. What else did they catch this guy in? Yeah, so there were several lies. So, that's pretty much it for this video. But I think, the takeaway from all this is that, first off, I really hate to see this guy get this type of time, because I mean, 20 and 30 years for, trying to hustle on the internet is some pretty serious time. I hope he gets a lawyer and he's able to get some type of plea deal. I don't know that he deserves 20 years for this, but I guess they're looking at it from the perspective they don't want people to try to take advantage of desperate people and becoming wealthy off of selling snake oil for the most part, right? So, but the takeaway is you really need to be careful when you're hustling on the internet, and you need to think about the things that you're saying, because if you tell ridiculous lies, or just if you just tell a lie in period, to sell your product on the internet, then you're pretty much setting yourself up to be arrested for fraud, right? So there's several different types of species of fraud that they can get him for. They got him for 1343, fraud by wire, radio, or television. And if you're on the internet and you're selling a product, and it doesn't even have to have anything to do with medical product, but if you're really be careful of how you sell your stuff online, because you definitely don't want to be nabbed up because you made a slip of the tongue while you were trying to sell something. So that's it. So, leave your questions, comments below. Let me know what you think about this arrest, and do you think the guy should get 20 and 30 years for this? Let me know. I want to know. I want to hear what you think. Leave your questions, comments below. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe this video.